So you're buying or selling your home and you want to keep a few things in mind of what is going to come into play. What are some weird things or big things that might affect the sale? So let's talk about three things that have been on my plate this morning: raccoons, pool lights, and roofs. Kind of random, but I'll show you how they all tie in, and they're all different transactions. And one of them is with a home that already sold. So the raccoons, that is actually a buyer of mine that is out of state. He already bought the home, and he actually asked me to sell his other home, so that home is under contract. But he bought this home. I think we closed maybe 6 months ago, and we got in touch with a pest control company who I really trust. They've done an amazing job, and we called them to say, hey, can you help with the sale of this home? Because the buyer for that home was, wondering if they had a termite inspection, which they didn't. He'd only owned the home for 2 years. And long story short, I got him in touch with the pest company, and he said, why don't you check out my other house as well? So while she was there, we went to the house. He's not here right now, he's in Kentucky. So we went to the house to go, I opened the door for her, checked on. By the way, this is not a professional video, this is just my phone, so if you hear dings, that's what's going on. But we went to his house that he bought last year, 5, 6 months ago, whatever the case was. Beautiful home, by the way, in the Villages, Florida. It is a gorgeous golf course front, or golf course view home with a pool, completely just redone, remodeled. It's gorgeous. This is like $1 million home. And we go there to, I let her in, she's doing her general inspection. And she said, I'm going to go check on the roof just to, take, or not the roof, but in the attic. And I was like, that's great. Just check with the seller, with the owner of the home. Sure enough, she went up there and she said, Joanie, I've been in this neighborhood and there's been rats. So I just want to make sure he's not having any kind of issue with that. She went up in the attic and came out to report that there is a raccoon in the house. And then she showed me how he's getting in. There's a little soffit that the raccoon is pushing up to get in. And once she showed me, I clearly could see it. But just something to keep in mind, that pests are bigger than little ants and termites, and something that if you're buying or selling, or maybe you bought your home and maybe you're not living here in the Villages, but you have someone checking on your home, make sure that your pest control company is someone that you trust and they're just going above and beyond, and not just coming around and spraying, but actually looking, under the hood. So she's going to take care of that. She's taken care of big pests before as well. So pool lights. Pool lights, I have a seller right now who has a pool, and the buyers got their inspections. They were very thorough. They got a pool inspection and a general inspection, which is important. And the pool lights were burnt out. Well, I didn't know that pool lights can cost you up to $1,500 a light, depending on if they're LED or what have you. So they can run anywhere from $300 to $500, and up to beyond that. Again, depending on what you need, it could be $1,000, $1,500 per light. So just something to keep in mind if you are selling your home and you have a pool. Make sure you get those pre-inspections done. Have your pool company come out and give you a quote, and then maybe you can ask around before. Or if you are the buyer of a pool home, something to keep in mind, because those pool lights are pretty pricey. So that was new to me. I have a pool. My pool lights have never burnt out, so I haven't had to replace them yet. But now, apparently, I need a separate savings account just for this. So something to keep in mind. And the roof. So I want to talk about this because this is general, and people generally know this. When you're selling your home and your roof is older, that can be an issue. Now, I have a buyer right now who is interested in a house. It's a beautiful home, it's a great home, but it is an older roof. It's 14 years old. And I had a conversation with the listing agent, and she, kind of made light of it. It's not a big deal. Um, but it is going to be a big deal for my seller or for my buyer if he buys his home next year. So, something to keep in mind. Maybe you're pricing it accordingly to factor in a roof cost. So maybe that's something that you can do. Maybe you can give some sort of roofing credit. I know it's a pain because your roof is probably perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but insurance is not going to let that buyer come along and just buy this house and get insurance on it. Even if they are a cash buyer. So that was my buyer's question. What if I'm paying cash? Does it affect me? Well, your insurance is your insurance, right? So as far as your contract, no, you're not going to have any hangups. You're still going to be able to buy the home. It's not contingent on your financing, which is contingent on your ability to get insurance. So if you have a loan, that's in your favor in that case. I have some buyers that are closing next week, and they literally could not get this home. They could not buy the home and get the home because it was a 17-year-old roof. So insurance wasn't going to cover it. So therefore, they could not get their loan to be approved. Underwriting would not let it go unless a new roof was put on prior to closing. Sometimes they'll say, okay, 30 days after, or they'll give you a time frame. But in this case, they said absolutely not. It needs to be put on before we actually give you the loan for this house. So these current buyers, back to them, they're cash buyers. They want to buy this home, but it's a 14-year-old roof. Now, I got insurance quotes on it this morning. They can get it. And I talked to an insurance guy, and he said, yeah, they absolutely can get this. They can get the insurance, but next year they won't be able to have insurance. So there was my answer. Okay, great. We have a band-aid for a year, but next year they're going to have to take out, they're going to have that cash set aside to get a new roof. So something to keep in mind if you are selling your home and your roof is getting to that point, it is going to be a sticking point for your buyers, because whether you justify it or not, whether you say, oh, it's no big deal, the roof is fine, I already got an insurance quote, that's great. But in Florida, they will not insure you if it's 15 years. Now, maybe that's not everywhere. Maybe I'm missing something, but all the insurance companies that I have seen will not go beyond 15 years. So just something to keep in mind, and it might be a good idea to talk about different ways. Again, maybe you can't fork out the cash up front, but maybe you can work that into, a new roof at closing, or giving some sort of credit to your buyer. You could just say in your listing, new roof at closing. That will help things go a lot quicker. So I hope that helps. This was a sneak peek into just weird things that might come up. And again, I mentioned this before in another one of my videos. It's always good to just get a pre-inspection, whether it's a termite or permits. Maybe you bought a home and you're not sure if the permits were done on the property. All kinds of things. As realtors, we see all kinds of weird things pop up. One of my colleagues last week was talking about a home that her buyers fell in love with. They put in an offer on, and they come to find out that the garden and the garden trellis, the basically this big beautiful trellis in the backyard, was not permitted. It wasn't approved by the ARC in the villages. So now they need to backtrack and see if they can get approval. Otherwise, they need to work out some sort of a credit that's going to be there to, basically rip it out if it's not approved. So all kinds of weird things. Just I'd love to help you if you are going through a transaction, or you're thinking of going on market. You're thinking of selling your home or buying your home. Let's talk about all the little details that might come up in that transaction, and how to just really make it go smoother all the way around. And again, if you're on the back side of it, you've already bought the home. Now let's talk about, okay, who are some good trusted people that you're going to need, like that pest control company, to make sure you don't have those critters in your attic while you're in Kentucky. I hope this helps. I will put my number in the chat and my contact info. You can feel free to reach out with any crazy weird questions. I always love to see how I can help. And if maybe you know someone who's thinking of buying or selling in the Villages or Central Florida, I would love to connect, because buying in Florida is a little bit different than maybe where you were. This one buyer that I have right now, he is a broker in New Jersey, but everything is different down here. So learning the ins and outs of the contract and the roof age and insurance and all of that is going to be a little bit different. So thanks for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.